Welcome back, awakened souls. Before we begin today's message, I want to thank every one of you who continues to gather here as part of this growing community of seekers, intuitives, and conscious explorers. If you feel guided by these messages and want to stay connected to the unfolding energies shaping our collective journey, make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss an important transmission from the universe. Now, take a slow breath. Set everything else aside for just a moment and ask yourself a simple question. What brought you here today? At first, the answer may seem obvious. Perhaps a recommendation appeared on your screen. Perhaps you were scrolling through countless videos and happened to stop on this one. But what if there is more to the story than that? What if your arrival here is not as random as it appears? Because over the past 72 hours, something has been quietly unfolding beneath the surface of your life. Not necessarily in your external circumstances, not in your schedule, not in the tasks you've completed or the goals you've achieved. I'm talking about something deeper, something subtle, something that has been moving through your inner world. Think back to the last few days. Have you noticed a thought that keeps returning, no matter how many times you try to move on from it? A question that refuses to leave your mind. A feeling that appears without explanation and lingers longer than it should. Perhaps you've sensed an unusual restlessness. Or maybe you felt the opposite, a strange stillness, as though part of you has been waiting for something you cannot yet name. These experiences are not uncommon when a major energetic threshold begins approaching. Long before change becomes visible in the physical world, it often announces itself within the emotional, spiritual, and intuitive layers of our experience. The soul feels the shift before the mind can explain it. The heart recognizes the signal before logic catches up. That signal has been growing stronger, and it is no coincidence that it is intensifying as June 6, 2026 draws near. The 6-6 portal, a date carrying a unique energetic signature that emerges only under very specific circumstances. Not simply because of the numbers themselves, but because of the collective field of awareness surrounding them and the cosmic environment supporting them. This year's portal arrives against a backdrop of powerful planetary influences, heightened lunar sensitivity, and a collective atmosphere that is encouraging profound personal transformation. Together, these forces create what many spiritual traditions describe as a gateway, a temporary opening through which higher awareness, accelerated growth, and life-changing realizations can emerge. And the fact that you are here before that gateway fully opens is significant. People often discover these moments after they have already passed. But those who arrive beforehand tend to share something in common. Something inside them is already listening. Something within them has already begun responding to the incoming frequency, even if they cannot fully explain why. That is why your presence here matters. Not because you are being singled out, not because you are somehow separate from anyone else, but because your inner world has already begun moving in the direction of the transformation that this portal may accelerate. Over the next 4 days, from June 4th through June 7th, you may begin noticing revelations, insights, emotions, and opportunities appearing with unusual intensity. Yet the most important events may not happen outside of you. They may happen within you, because portals are often misunderstood. Many people imagine that a portal is something that arrives and delivers blessings, answers, opportunities, or miracles directly into their lives. But that is not how transformative energy works. A portal is not a cosmic delivery system. A portal is a passageway. It does not bring the future to you. It invites you to step toward the future that is already trying to reach you. It creates a bridge between the person you have been and the person you are becoming. But every bridge requires movement. Every doorway requires a choice. Every threshold requires participation. Those who stand still waiting for life to change often miss the very opportunity they were hoping to receive. Meanwhile, those who recognize the invitation and take even a small step forward discover that the portal was never meant to hand them something. It was meant to help them become someone. Before we go any further, I want you to leave a comment below. What has been repeating itself in your life lately? A thought? A feeling? A situation? A person? Whatever keeps showing up, write it down. Because chances are, it is not random. It may be the very first message the 6-6 portal has already begun placing in your path. And as we continue, you will begin to understand why. The reason the 6-6 portal matters is not because it promises blessings, miracles, or overnight transformation. Its power is far more profound than that. What opens on June 6 is not simply an energetic window. It is a passageway, a threshold, a bridge between two versions of reality that have been existing side by side within you for much longer than you realize. And what makes this passageway extraordinary is that it is not leading toward something vague. It is not guiding you toward good things in a general sense. It is guiding you toward a very specific possibility. The version of your life that becomes available when you finally stop negotiating with truths you already know. The version of your life that emerges when your actions, your choices, your relationships, and your inner reality begin operating from genuine alignment. That word alignment is the key to everything. Because the 6-6 portal does not amplify wishes. It amplifies alignment. It magnifies whatever is already true. Think about that for a moment. Whatever you have honestly acknowledged within yourself over the last several weeks. W1. Whatever realization has been quietly forming beneath the noise. Whatever truth keeps resurfacing every time you try to ignore it. That is the energy this portal strengthens. The universe is not asking you to become someone else. It is asking you to stop pretending to be someone you are not. And there is a tremendous difference between those two things. For many people, the days leading into June 6th feel strangely emotional because an internal balancing process has already begun. Old identities are being examined. Old stories are being questioned. Old beliefs that once provided safety are beginning to feel too small for the person you are becoming. You may find yourself reflecting on decisions you made years ago. You may notice memories resurfacing unexpectedly. You may even experience moments where the past suddenly makes sense in a way it never has before. That is not coincidence. That is integration. And integration is the true gift of the 6-6 portal. In numerology, the number 6 has long been associated with harmony, balance, responsibility, and the restoration of inner order. When 6 appears twice, the symbolism becomes amplified. Not as a force of conflict, not as a force of destruction, but as a force of reconciliation. The reconciliation of opposites. The reconciliation of what was with what is becoming. The reconciliation of the person who survived with the person who is now ready to thrive. Many awakened souls spend years trapped between these two versions of themselves. Part of them knows they are evolving. Part of them senses a larger future calling their name. Yet another part remains attached to familiar patterns, because those patterns once provided security. This creates tension, a subtle but constant friction within the psyche, a tension between comfort and growth, between familiarity and expansion, between the life you inherited and the life your soul is attempting to create. And if you've been feeling that tension lately, you're not imagining it. You are standing exactly where the portal intends to meet you, because the purpose of this gateway is not to force one side to win. It is not about destroying your past. It is not about rejecting the person you used to be. In fact, one of the most important lessons of this portal is understanding that your previous chapter was never your enemy. The person you were 5 years ago served a purpose. The person you were 1 year ago served a purpose. Even the version of yourself that made mistakes, tolerated situations you had outgrown, ignored intuition, or delayed difficult decisions was still participating in your evolution. Every chapter contributed something valuable. Every season taught something necessary. Every challenge built a strength you now carry. And that is why the energy of June 4th through June 7th is asking for honesty rather than judgment. Most people attempt to move forward by condemning their past. They look backward and see only failures, only regrets, only mistakes. But that approach leaves energetic residue. It leaves unresolved emotion attached to the very chapter they are trying to leave behind. The 6-6 portal offers something cleaner, something wiser, something far more transformative. It offers release through understanding, not release through rejection. Understanding is different. Understanding allows you to look at an old chapter and recognize exactly why it existed. It allows you to see what that relationship taught you, what that disappointment revealed, what that setback prepared you for, what that season of uncertainty developed within you. And once you truly understand its purpose, something remarkable happens. The emotional charge begins to dissolve. The resistance softens. The attachment loosens. The chapter completes itself naturally, not because you forced it to end, but because you finally understood why it happened. That understanding is what creates genuine closure. And genuine closure creates space. Space for new possibilities. Space for clearer decisions. Space for the future that has been trying to emerge beneath the surface of your life all along. This is why these 4 days are so significant. June 4th through June 7th are not separate events surrounding a single important date. They are one continuous energetic field. The portal itself is simply the peak of the wave. What matters most is what you bring with you as you approach it. The honesty, the awareness, the willingness to see your story clearly. Not just the painful parts, not just the parts you want to escape, but the entire journey. Because when you walk through the 6-6 portal carrying genuine understanding instead of unresolved resistance, something shifts. The next chapter opens differently. Its foundation is stronger. Its opportunities become clearer. Its lessons become less repetitive. And for the first time in a long time, the future no longer feels like something you're chasing. It feels like something you're finally ready to receive. Before we move any deeper into the energy of this portal, I need to speak directly to those of you who have been finding your way back to these messages again and again. If you haven't subscribed yet, I want you to understand something important. What we're building here is not a collection of isolated videos. It is a living conversation, a continuous unfolding, a map. Every transmission we've explored throughout this year represents a different coordinate within a much larger energetic landscape. Each lunar event, each planetary shift, each portal, each moment of cosmic acceleration is connected to the next in ways that become visible only when you step back far enough to see the entire pattern. One message reveals a doorway. The next explains why it appeared. Another shows you what waits on the other side. Viewed separately, they offer insight. Viewed together, they become guidance. The 6-6 portal you are experiencing right now did not emerge out of nowhere. Its roots stretch backward into everything we've already discussed. The energetic pauses, the preparation cycles, the moments when life seemed to slow down for reasons that were difficult to understand at the time. And it also stretches forward into energies that are still approaching. Energies that will begin revealing themselves more clearly as we move deeper into June. The reason this matters is simple. Awareness compounds. The more context you carry, the more useful every new revelation becomes. Those who move through these energies consciously often experience them very differently from those encountering them without preparation. Not because they are more gifted, not because they are more spiritual, but because they recognize the signs when they arrive. They understand the language. They see the pattern forming before it becomes obvious, and that awareness allows them to work with the energy instead of simply reacting to it. Now, with that said, let's focus our attention on the most important part of this journey, the 3 days leading directly into the heart of the portal. June 4th, June 5th, and June 6th. Although they exist within the same energetic field, each carries its own distinct frequency, its own lesson, its own invitation, its own role within the larger transformation. And understanding the purpose of each day can dramatically change how you experience this portal. Let's begin with June 4th. Because June 4th is not the day of action, it is not the day of manifestation, it is not the day of dramatic breakthroughs. June 4th is the day of honest inventory. In many ways, it may be the most important day of the entire sequence. Why? Because clarity always comes before alignment, and alignment always comes before movement. The energy on June 4th possesses a unique quality. The portal is already active. You can feel it. The frequency has begun building, yet it has not reached its maximum intensity. That means your perception is often clearer. Your emotions are present, but not overwhelming. Your intuition is available without being drowned out by the larger energetic currents that arrive later. Think of it as standing at the base of a mountain before beginning the climb. You can still see the landscape behind you. You can still recognize where you've been. You have enough distance to observe your life honestly. And that honesty is exactly what June 4th is asking from you. Not surface-level reflection, not spiritual performance, not a carefully edited version of self-awareness. Real honesty. The kind that can be uncomfortable. The kind that changes things. The question is simple. What are you still carrying that does not belong where you're going? Pause for a moment and really sit with that. Not what you think you should release, not what sounds wise to release, not what spiritual content says you're supposed to let go of. What are you actually carrying? What continues occupying space within your energy field? What continues shaping your decisions? What continues influencing your behavior even though a deeper part of you already knows it, no longer belongs in your future? For some of you, the answer will involve relationships. Perhaps there is a dynamic you've outgrown, a way of relating to someone that once protected you, but now limits you. A pattern of communication that belonged to an older version of yourself. One that made sense when you were less confident in your needs, less connected to your worth, less willing to speak your truth. For others, the answer may be internal. A belief, a story, a definition of yourself that was written years ago and never questioned. Maybe it was inherited from family. Maybe it emerged from a painful experience. Maybe it was formed during a season when survival mattered more than expansion. And even though your life has changed, the story remains, quietly directing decisions from behind the scenes, telling you what is possible, telling you what you deserve, telling you who you are allowed to become. But what if that story is no longer true? What if the limitation isn't reality? What if it is simply an outdated program still running in the background? For others, June 4th may reveal something even deeper, a definition of success that no longer resonates, a destination you have been chasing simply because you were taught that reaching it would make you happy, a vision of fulfillment that belongs to society, family expectations, or old conditioning rather than your authentic self. And this is where the inventory becomes powerful. Because the purpose is not to judge any of it, the purpose is to see it clearly, to recognize what has served its purpose, to acknowledge what helped shape you, and to identify what no longer belongs in the chapter that is waiting to emerge. That is the assignment of June 4th. Not fixing, not forcing, not changing, simply seeing. Because what you are willing to see clearly is what the 6-6 portal can help you transform, and what remains hidden cannot yet be released. The first step through any portal is awareness. June 4th gives you that awareness. The question is whether you are willing to look. True self-inventory requires specificity, not vague awareness, not general statements about growth, not telling yourself, "I need to let go of old patterns." The universe cannot transform what you refuse to identify. The 6-6 portal responds to clarity, and clarity lives in the details. So on June 4th, your task is simple. Name it, not the category, the actual thing, the specific habit, the specific fear, the specific relationship dynamic, the specific belief that quietly shapes your choices every day, the pattern that appears when you're exhausted, the story that surfaces when you're rejected, the reaction that shows up whenever life asks you to step into something bigger. Give it a name. Write it down if you can. Not because anyone else needs to see it. Not because you're creating some elaborate spiritual ritual, but because writing something down makes it harder to hide from yourself. Once truth is placed on paper, it becomes real in a different way. The mind can debate a thought. It can rationalize it. It can explain it away. But when you see it written in your own words, something shifts. The truth becomes visible. And once it becomes visible, it becomes available for transformation. Then comes June 5th. This is where the energy changes. This is where the portal begins gathering strength. And this is where many people mistakenly believe something is wrong. Because June 5th is not always comfortable. June 5th is the day of integration, the day when what was identified intellectually begins moving into the emotional body, the day when awareness becomes experience, the day when understanding becomes feeling. What you recognized on June 4th now starts speaking through your emotions, through your nervous system, through your heart, through your body. You may find yourself unusually reflective. Unexpected memories may surface. Old emotions may return. Certain conversations may affect you more deeply than usual. You may suddenly feel the weight of something you've been carrying for years. And if that happens, don't assume you're moving backward. You are not regressing. You are integrating. There is a profound difference. Because before something can truly leave your life, it often asks to be fully felt one final time. This is why June 5th carries such powerful emotional energy. It is the moment when the familiar begins loosening its grip. And whenever that happens, the pull backward becomes stronger. The old identity whispers. The old comfort zone calls your name. The old version of life reminds you how predictable it was, even if it wasn't fulfilling, even if it wasn't aligned, even if it was limiting. The familiar has gravity. And on June 5th, that gravity can feel incredibly strong. But remember something important. Releasing is not an intellectual process. It is an emotional one. The mind can decide something is over. The body takes longer. The body grieves. Even when what is ending needs to end. Even when what is leaving no longer belongs. Even when the next chapter is undeniably better. The body still mourns what it knew, because familiarity creates attachment, and attachment creates emotion. So if emotions arise on June 5th, allow them. Don't rush to fix them. Don't immediately distract yourself. Don't try to spiritually bypass your way into feeling positive. Let the feelings exist. Let the sadness exist. Let the uncertainty exist. Let the tenderness exist. Because every meaningful ending carries emotion, and honoring those emotions is part of how the ending completes itself. Then we arrive at June 6th, the day of passage, the day the portal reaches its peak, the day the threshold fully reveals itself. And here is what I most want you to understand. The 6-6 portal is not a single moment. It is not a specific minute on a clock. It is not a magical instant where everything changes all at once. It is an energetic field, a frequency, a current moving through the entire day. And your experience of that field depends largely on your ability to receive it. That is why stillness becomes so important. Not performance, not ceremony, not complicated rituals. Just stillness. Real stillness. The kind that allows you to hear yourself again. The kind that allows your soul to speak without interruption. The kind that creates space for truth to emerge. On June 6th, give yourself moments of intentional quiet. If you can dedicate 30 minutes, wonderful. If you can only find 10 minutes, that is enough. Even 5 minutes of genuine presence can be transformative. Sit with yourself. Take a breath. Remember what you discovered on June 4th. Remember what you felt on June 5th. Bring both into June 6th consciously. Allow yourself to cross the threshold with awareness. Not because the portal will do the work for you, but because the portal amplifies the work you have already begun. And that is its gift. It strengthens what is genuine. It accelerates what is aligned. It supports what is true. Before we close, I want to hear from you. Which day speaks to you most strongly right now? June 4th, the day of honest inventory. June 5th, the day of emotional integration. Or June 6th, the day of passage through the portal itself. Leave the date in the comments and tell me why. Because your answer may reveal something important about where you currently are in your own transformation. And if this message found you at exactly the right moment, trust that. Sometimes the soul recognizes a doorway long before the mind understands why. Thank you for spending this time with me. If this message resonated, make sure you're subscribed and part of our growing community of awakened souls as we continue navigating the extraordinary energies unfolding throughout 2026 together. Until next time, take a few moments for yourself. Breathe deeply. Observe your thoughts without judgment. Write down what the universe is revealing to you. And above all, trust the wisdom that is already awakening within you. The portal is opening. The question is not whether the energy is available. The question is whether you are ready to walk through it consciously.